Oh, sweet cosmic justice on this Friday. Just minutes before the Bureau of Labor Statistics released its report showing that Donald Trump and his economy and failed policies have single-handedly ended the longest streak in American history of job creation, just before the Bureau of Labor Statistics released their report showing that the Trump administration is making on average only 10% of the amount of jobs that the Biden administration made each month, averaging about 18 to 20,000 instead of the 180,000 that the Biden administration made each month. Just before that report came out, the Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick for Donald Trump goes on television and says he believes now that Donald Trump fired the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics last month because he hated those job numbers, and these are worse, that we should expect more accurate data to come out with the jobs report. Jobs report's out, everybody, and it's been endorsed now by Howard Lutnick, who says it is more accurate than last week. I agree. And it shows an anemic, almost a criminal on part of Donald Trump, lack of creation of jobs during his economy. We're in the Trump recession, everybody. I'm Michael Popok. You're on Legal AF on Friday. I'm putting on my Wall Street hat. Let's get to it. So, the clip that I love, and I want to just put this in the right time perspective. This is before the jobs report got released by the Bureau of Labor Statistics today. Remember, there's still 2,000 economists that are still working there round the clock, bipartisan, nonpartisan, to generate these numbers. So let me show you the clip, and then we'll get to the jobs report. Here's the clip, moments before the jobs numbers are released. Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, Donald Trump. Roll the clip.
I'm curious how you think we should think about the credibility of these numbers, given that the president removed the former head of the BLS. There's a new person in that role. Has there been a change, a meaningful change to the methodology with which we should see in these numbers? And should we think they're more credible than they were a month ago?
Well, I think you take the noise out, meaning if the leader is bent against Donald Trump, then they're going to have, such errors, and those things are bent. We've seen that in all sorts of agencies throughout this government. The people, the holdovers from the Biden administration, they're just bent against the president's success. They're rooting against America and against Donald Trump, and that's got to end. So he can't replace somebody, 2 weeks ago, and you expect fundamental change. But what you will get is an agency that's on side, just trying to do the best and put out the correct numbers. And that's what Donald Trump has to do, and that's what this whole cabinet has to do.
Okay. Now the jobs number comes out like a moment later. Now they were predicting yesterday that they thought it was going to be a terrible number of 80,000 for the month of August. It was worse. It was 22,000. Now, to put that in perspective, we're an economy of 300 million people. There are 7.2 million people looking for jobs. And this administration made 22,000 total jobs. The Biden administration averaged 168,000 jobs per month, over almost 2 million jobs. Now, right now, we've got another major problem, if you can believe it, when it comes to jobs, because now there are less jobs than people looking for them. There are less jobs than people looking for them because hiring managers have stopped hiring. The Federal Reserve creates what's called a beige book, which is a monthly review of each of the 12 regional banks that make up the Federal Reserve. And they do a survey of businesses and consumers to get a handle on the micro markets within America and how they're suffering or they're benefiting or how they're profiting or whatever it is. 7 out of the 12, more than half of these regional bank areas report from hiring managers that they're not hiring. We're not hiring. Okay. Now, that's one side, the hiring side. So they're not making new jobs because of the instability in Donald Trump's failed economic policies and what tariffs are doing to their ability to plan. On the other side, consumer confidence is in the trash. And the operative word there from the surveys of consumers is struggling. Americans are struggling under Donald Trump's economy. How do I know? Because they're telling the people taking the surveys that and doing the math. Prices are way up. The Federal Reserve, would like prices to be a 2% inflation rate. That's their optimum number. We're heading towards 4%. And it's even higher than that. You go to the grocery store, it's 30 to 40% higher for fruits and vegetables. Depends on what you buy. It only nets out to 3.5% or 4%, depending upon what's in your basket. But the real things that we use every day, the core basket, is way up. I'm thinking 5 to 7%, if not more. Americans are suffering and struggling under the Trump economy, and the statistics show it. And behind every statistic, when I tell you that there were negative job growth in June, I'm talking negative job growth. They lost 14,000 jobs, making a net average for the 3 months revised down from even when Donald Trump fired that commissioner. They're worse now because they went back and revised the numbers again, showing up 22,000 net job creation. Again, 1/10 of what Biden did month over month over month of the Trump economy. And he owns this economy. Let me show you a clip of one of the reporters talking about the job loss and the end of the longest streak of job creation in American history on Donald Trump's watch. And that includes that we're back to COVID days. See, Donald Trump and COVID recession go hand in glove, back again. Let's roll the clip.
Well, Omar, look, after years of resilience, the U.S. job market looks increasingly fragile, especially after the latest numbers that just came out. So this report just moments ago shows the U.S. economy added 22,000 jobs in August. That is very low. It's also just a fraction of the 77,000 jobs that had been expected. The unemployment rate went up to 4.3% from 4.2%. That was expected, but this is notable because this is the highest unemployment rate since October of 2021, and it breaks a stretch where the unemployment rate had kind of stayed in this very low range. Still relatively low, but moving in the wrong direction. The other big news here, though, is what happened as far as revisions. We saw that July was revised a little bit higher. But more important was June. June was revised from a low number of just 14,000 jobs were added to now negative 13,000 jobs. It's not quite showing up on that bar chart, but June is the first month where the U.S. economy lost jobs since December of 2020 during COVID. So this breaks a nearly 5-year stretch of job growth, of uninterrupted job growth in the U.S. economy. That's the second longest stretch in U.S. history, but now it's over.
All right, listen, let's talk truth to each other here. We're in a pickle with the Trump economy and the Trumponomics, which he never calls it that because it's so failing. The linchpin, his entire economic policy is centered around unconstitutional tariffs, where he's wrecked our economic global relationships, turning our reliable trading partners like Canada, shout out to Canada, and Mexico and the European Union, and turning them away from us towards the East, at least in Europe. This benefits China, this benefits Russia, this benefits India, doesn't benefit the United States of America. The rest of the world said, you want to do America first? Good luck with that. Good luck with pulling yourself out of the global economy. Mitch McConnell, of all people, his last year in the Senate, finally got around to saying this is the worst period economically he has ever seen since he's been in the Senate. And he blames Donald Trump for it. And the recession that we're about to be in. Because when they look back on all of these numbers, we're in a recession. There's no doubt. Sometimes it takes economists looking backwards a year to say, oh yeah, that's when the recession started. This is when the recession started. And now the pressure is on the Federal Reserve. You know, the Open Markets Committee, which is a 12-member voting group, 7 of the governors of the Board of Governors of the currently independent Federal Reserve which are controlled 4-3. Well, now it's actually, it's 4-3 non-Trump. And 5 members of the regional banks get together to set rates. And in setting those rates, they will have to lower the interest rates. I think they're going to have to lower the interest rates by 0.5 point now and 0.5 point in October just to save America. Thank God we've got the Federal Reserve. They've only got one instrument, lowering interest rates. But when you create cheap money, what does it do to the economy? It sends the economy skittering off into inflation land, leading to higher prices, leading to more suffering and more struggling. And that's the problem with the Trump economy. See, he's distracted. Yesterday, I was having lunch and I bumped into somebody in the financial service industry, somebody who's like a wealth manager. We were kicking some ideas around because I wanted to hear it from that person who's sort of in it every day. And his comment, frankly, about this economy is that the metrics, the data is underreporting how bad it is in America. And I agree with that. And what it means for us moving forward is that we're going to have to hold the Trump accountable at the midterms, pressure our elected officials to reverse course on the failed economic policy. And because the numbers every week, the first week of the month, are terrible for Donald Trump. It's his least favorite part of the month because it shows that everything he's doing and everything he's trying is not working. And all it's doing is torturing the American people. He likes to say that the Federal Reserve and Jay Powell, the chairman, are torturing America. He's torturing America with his failed economic policies, and he won't acknowledge that he's doing poorly, so he won't reverse course, which means we have to punish him at the midterms. And we'll do that together here on Legal AF. Take a moment, hit the free subscribe button on Legal AF. Come over to Legal AF Substack as well, where we're building an amazing community there of new material, new information, live reporting, all on Legal AF Substack. So until my next report, I'm Michael Popok. Can't get your fill of Legal AF? Me neither. That's why we formed the Legal AF Substack. Every time we mention something in a hot take, whether it's a court filing or a oral argument, come over to the Substack. You'll find the court filing and the oral argument there, including a daily roundup that I do called, wait for it, Morning AF. What else? All the other contributors from Legal AF are there as well. We got some new reporting. We got interviews. We got ad-free versions of the podcast and hot takes. Where? Legal AF on Substack. Come over now to free subscribe.